Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Matchday -2, where we can exclusively reveal that Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers has signed a new contract with the club until June 2025. And we're delighted to say that Brendan joined us on the sofa this afternoon for Matchday -2. Brendan, it's fantastic news. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel great. Thanks very much. It was a very easy decision. It's something we'd been speaking about over the last few weeks, but no, it was. I've loved my time since I've been in here and working with the players firstly, and and how they've adapted to how we've worked. But of course, the club as a whole, it's been absolutely brilliant, and in our journey. And even though I only started back in February, but everything just felt great. So yes, I'm so happy to be able to be here for a longer period, and hopefully we can bring more success to the club over in that time.
It's funny you say that you only arrived in February. It seems a lot longer than that, the time that you've been here and the success that you've already had here.
Yeah, I think the reason for coming in was that we felt that it had a big potential, and obviously coming into here, I think the potential is the exciting part of it. There's a lot more growth left in this, not just the team. I'm really looking forward, along with my staff, working with the individual players and making that commitment to making them better and being able to sustain it, but also the club itself. It's really exciting, moving to the new training ground, the plans for the stadium as well, and like I say, looking to roll that out over these next numbers of years. So that was. As I said, I've loved every minute since being here.
Well, we'll hear a lot more from Brendan Rodgers and Jerry Taggart as well on Matchday -2. But first, we'll look back at what's been a fantastic start to the season. Matchday -2, that's because Brendan Rodgers has signed a new deal here at Leicester City. He's on the sofa with us this afternoon, and Brendan, just looking back at that, there was a smile on your face. It has been a brilliant start to the season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was the key for us in pre-season. We wanted to hit the ground running and put in a lot of work, but yeah, the players, the consistency, I think that's been key. Their mindset, they've got talent and big potential, but we've tried to ensure that that's consistent in their training, and then they can take that into the game. So yeah, they've been absolutely first class. To have won 11 games out of 15, 7 in a row is not very easy in the Premier League. But we're very focused and not getting carried away. Just focusing on the process, which is developing our performance level, and we know that we can play as well as we can. Then it gives us a great chance to win games.
Brendan, it's been, as we all know, it's been a great start of the season, but for you personally, what's been the most pleasing aspect since you've come into the club? You're working with a lot of young players, you've talked about the potential, and obviously this unbeaten run that you're on now, but for you personally, when you go home at night, shut the door behind you, and you sit down and maybe analyse it on your own, what would you say is the one most pleasing aspect of what since you've been here?
Seeing the relationship between the training and the games.
Yeah.
I think as a coach and manager and someone who's always been into that sort of process, it's something that's very important to us. So coming into the team back then, knowing that what the style was before that, renowned and being counter-attack, and obviously Claude had done a really good job in coming in and looking to adapt to the possession. My job was to come in and continue with that, and then look to bring, the type of game I like to see, both in terms of defending and attacking. Mm-hmm. So that's been the most pleasing aspect, and how the players have enjoyed it and adapted to it, and are now getting the rewards for it.
I think one other thing that I've picked up on is your substitutions and the times of your substitutions, and the impact, the positive impact. Literally every game where you've made your substitutions, they've either come on and scored, or they've created a goal-scoring opportunity. So obviously, in the modern game, your substitutions are massive, right? But so how do you feel about the substitutions and how they've affected the games in the past?
Just planning. It's as simple as that. It's I think one of the biggest things you try to do as a coach and manager is anticipate the game. You'll always anticipate it going well.
Yes.
But what's important is planning for different eventualities in the game. If if you're chasing the game or something happens within it. So you're thinking a lot leading into the game about the different scenarios. So when it arises in the game, then you've at least, you've had a check in your own mind in terms of what you might need. So that I always felt has been important in my coaching career, always looking to plan. And listen, you won't always get it right, but I tend to always think that at least 8, 9 times out of 10, if you make an attacking substitution or bring an intensity into the game in whichever way, you're hoping that it can pay off. If it doesn't, okay, you've tried. But it's something that, and if I have to make it earlier, I can make it early. Yeah. But it's just really planning. It's planning how the game might go and thinking about it, and like I say, having something if it needs to be in the game.
One thing we talk about a lot on these shows is that the quality in the group, and it's a young, hungry, exciting group of players. You work with them, of course, every single day. Just how good are these players?
Well, they're very good. But what we've tried to give them is that you have to start from scratch every day. If you want to be a top player or a top team, what you've done in the past, all the great accomplishments that you achieve, it doesn't matter. That's all gone. So you have to come in every day in order never to be complacent, and that's difficult, because especially for young players.
Absolutely.
And that's the job of the leader, to ensure and observe and look at the environment to ensure that they don't become complacent. And emotionally, it is tough. It's very tiring, because when you're pushing and demanding all the time. But if you want to be the very best player that you can be and be the best team, then you as the manager, you need to spread to your players that from the first whistle on a training day, you're trying to maximise what you can get out of your talent. And then naturally, if you've got that mindset, you bring that into the games, and then you never have a lazy day then.
How much joy has this recent run given you? It's equalled a 56-year-old club record of top flight wins in a row. You've talked about 11 of 15 in the Premier League. How much joy has it given you this start to the season? Well,
it's been fantastic. I think that to see the level and the games that we've had some really, really tough games, home and away. But seeing how we've managed that has been very pleasing. Seeing the level of football that we've played is great. I bump into the supporters and they're happy, and that's our job. Our job is to inspire the supporters so they enjoy watching their team. So yeah, it's been very, very good. But so important that you don't get carried away. It's great for the supporters to do that and everyone else, but within it you have to stay focused. And you have to be able to look to improve and get better, and that's the process that the players are in, and a process that we want to keep going.
I know obviously each game is vitally important, each 3 points is vitally important. Which games, though, do you look back at with the most pride, the most joy? I mean, the 9-0 obviously maybe springs to mind.
Yeah, but that game was obviously a record-breaking game to achieve that. And again, not just the talent in that game, but the mentality. That was a sign of, we've been in games like it, Jerry, where
you could have been forgiven. The game was over at half-time, so you could have been forgiven of taking your foot off the pedal when you came out in the second half, but that just did not happen whatsoever.
No, and that goes back to the mindset that we're talking about, and we mentioned at half-time about that. So it was an awful night. I seen some images after the game of the supporters, was so happy that we could give them that evening and like you say, go into the record books. But a wonderful win, and but games like that, Sheffield United away, I think that
it's massive win.
As the season goes on, I think our wins against Sheffield United, against Brighton, will be looked at as actually very, very good results. So the performance level in those games has been very good. And I think pleasing from a coach as well is that we've had to show different sides. We've had to dig in at times, and even like the other night when the game wasn't as fast as we'd normally want and as slick as it could be because the opponent sat in deep. But you got to find a way. And for young players to have that, to know that you're not always going to win playing perfect football, but you've got the opportunity to still get a result. So that's been very pleasing. And as you see here in the images, it was an incredible football night and in awful conditions as well to play at that level. So we were able to share it with the supporters, and it was great.
It's important that you say, talking about sharing it with the supporters, that was the night they all had their Vichy scarves up. It looked fantastic, and there seems to be a real connection at the moment between the group of players, the group of management and the fans as well. So how much have they played a part in your decision to extend your contract here?
Well, supporters are everything, because if they're not happy with you, they let you know. That's whether you're a player, coach or manager. That's the experience of it. But no, our job is to, as I said, inspire them, give them the joy, and I was very sincere when I said, over these last few weeks when I've been asked questions, that I'm genuinely really happy here. You learn through experience as well. I've always been moved on for the challenge. That's always been my reason for moving on to if I went to another club. But for me, I never felt the need to here. There's so much room here to improve and develop, and that's been my life since I was a young coach, whether it's developing players and helping teams become better. And I'm at a club where the ownership, top's absolutely amazing. It's very clean, it's very simple. Susan does an amazing job on the commercial side, and I work closely with John Rudkin on a day-to-day basis. So it's very, very simple. We have ambition in terms of improving and developing, and that there for me was music to my ears. Just finally,
you're talking about Kuntop. I know that he's spoken about this contract extension, and he's underlined it on and off the pitch, the impact that you've had here at Leicester City as well, which is a massive thing for the supporters and the fans and everything. That, yes, it's going brilliantly well on the pitch, but off it as well, you've had such an impact too.
Well, I think any of us, we always want to work in an environment where people want to come in and work in and be happy. And football, it's so up and down in terms of emotion. But I just think if you have an environment, whether it's at the stadium or whether it's at the training ground, where people enjoy being with each other, because I've never seen a successful team that doesn't have spirit and have a sort of clear vision through the club. And that was something that was important to me coming in, not just to create that alignment on the pitch, but to try and ensure that the whole club, we could be together and all go in the same direction. So thankfully it started well for us, and I'm very honoured and happy to get the opportunity to continue that for a longer period.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Brendan. I know you've now got to go and face the wider media, haven't you, after this? Jerry Taggart will be joined by Matt Elliott, though, for the second half of Matchday -2. But the big news is Brendan Rodgers has signed a contract extension here at Leicester City.
Beat Saigon.
We are an instinct that ignites action. We are a journey, taking one step more. And we are the heart that beats as one. We are proud to be more. De Montfort University, Leicester.
Welcome back to Matchday -2 on LCFC TV. In that first half, Jerry praised Brendan Rodgers for his substitute, so we've made one halfway through Matchday -2 as Matt Elliott replaces Brendan Rodgers on the sofa. Matt, and
very good, Dan. Very good.
thank you. Fantastic news, though, isn't it? That's just been broken here.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's happened quite quickly, really, as well, hasn't it? With minimal speculation about Brendan's position at the club and other clubs in the Premier League being interested, supposedly. Leicester have put that to bed, between themselves and the manager. But although you thought perhaps it was a likely and very welcome scenario, you didn't expect it to happen probably so quickly. I don't know. But, it's done efficiently, isn't it? And wonderful news for everyone involved at the club, supporters, players, staff, everyone who's got an interest in it. Yeah.
It just reeks of ambition. The club are just, they've seen
the
them on
length
their
of
own.
the contract as
the
well.
length of the contract just stinks of ambition, and they've realised what Brendan's brought, the style of football, the results, the fans, and, obviously, the new training ground opening, which he touched on, and the extension to the stadium. And it just all seems, it's just a seamless another part to the ambition that this club have.
Yeah, before we do move on, Matt, to on-field matters, the excitement that's around the club, we've talked about it all year, haven't we? Yeah, on the pitch, it's a young, exciting group, and off it, you've got Brendan Rodgers at the helm. It's just such an exciting time to be a Leicester City fan. Yeah,
for many, many reasons, but primarily it's what you do on the pitch that has the knock-on effect. But to achieve that, as Brendan mentioned there, you need to create the right atmosphere, the right environment, and not just in a football sense. It helps if everyone's back in our day, without referring back to that too regularly. You got a feel about the club, you got an affinity for the club. You can understand that everyone was in it together. Obviously, it's the players and the coaching staff who have the major effect, but all the external factors, if everyone's pushing in the right direction, it can work wonders. It can work wonders, and yeah, it is a special time. In fact, even to the point where I might even consider extending my contract as well, Gerald.
With LCFC TV and radio. Well, on the pitch, it's Aston Villa, of course, up next on Sunday in the Premier League. That's after, of course, 6 points in 4 days after those wins against Everton and Watford.
Everton moving forward. This is Sidibe, right-hand side of the penalty area. Low ball in, that's headed in! And Everton have the lead. Richarlison gets across his man, nods in the opening goal. And this was not in the script. He's got Iheanacho one side and Vardy the other. It goes to Kelechi, Iheanacho. Vardy arriving at the back post! And we all know what that means. Jamie Vardy just does not miss those. Ricardo's overlapping. Oh, it's the ball through to Iheanacho. He's offside. Flag goes up. Iheanacho he's offside. Flag went up a long time ago. Graham Scott still with the finger in his ear. Jordan Pickford in discussion. The referee has given the goal. Leicester City, courtesy of Kelechi Iheanacho and the video assistant referee, have surely won this game. What a ball! That was some flukes into Perez, into Vardy in the penalty area. He's gone over. What's the referee given here? It is going to be a yellow card for Vardy for simulation. This is controversial. Shovels it back to Maddison, who swings in another one on his right foot. And Evans, was he found at the far post? Yes! This time the referee points to the spot. Here he comes, right footed, and he finishes in typically emphatic style. Jamie Vardy scores again. Bursting into the penalty area to finish things off. James Maddison makes it 2-0 with virtually the last kick, and Brendan Rodgers' side are rewriting the record books.
Yes, rewriting the record books with those 2 wins. 7 wins in a row now, Jerry, in the Premier League. It's been a fantastic run, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite unbelievable. And I think, if we didn't get to ask Brendan that sort of question, do you actually believe that you'd have been in this situation, come the start of the season, at the beginning of the season, come this stage of the season, should I say. So yeah, it's been a bit of a surprise, you could say, but the more you get to see this team play on the pitch, the more impressed you are by them. And again, he touched on the style of teams that he's come up against. He mentioned Brighton and Sheffield United away, which I totally agree with. They had to be resilient on both those games and then come out the other end with the 3 points. And he showed that the team can be resilient, as well as, playing with all the flair and the glamour that they have done as well against teams like Southampton. So it's just been remarkable.
There's even more praise, I guess, to heap on Brendan Rodgers. Matt, we forgot to mention he's been nominated today for the Premier League Manager of the Month for November. Kaglar Soyuncu, Jamie Vardy as well, nominated for Player of the Month for November in the Premier League, which is yet again a sign of the way and the good level of form at the moment Leicester are on.
Yeah, and they're probably in with a genuine shout of winning the awards, aren't they? Both Brendan and one of those 2 players that you mentioned. It's been imperious, really, hasn't it? And they've been tested in different ways, as Jerry's mentioned there, and they've always come up with the answers. They've always come up with a solution, sign of a very good team. Not just full of ability, but they got steel and the spirit that Brendan mentioned. And it's been faultless, hasn't it? You look at that run of league results, there's all those 7 green W's in a row. Even with Liverpool winning all the games that they have, Leicester have probably been, over that period of time, more impressive.
They'll be hoping, Joe, to make it 8 green W's when they go to Aston Villa on Sunday, of course, but that'll be a really tough place to go. They've shown that it has been a tough place to go so far this season.
Yeah, a bit of a stuttering start from Aston Villa, but they've found their feet in the Premier League. Yes, they're struggling towards the bottom, but they're picking up results. And so, they got beat away at Chelsea,
yeah.
But apparently played very well. Got a great result against Manchester United at the weekend, or during the week, sorry. So there are not going to be any pushovers by any stretch of the imagination. So it's another game where Brendan, again, he talked about the emotional side. And you've probably heard me too often go on about it's all about the mental focus. And that's what it's about. There's no shocks when we go to Villa. They're a good, decent team that on their day can roll anybody over. So it's all about the mental approach. It's all about getting those emotions in check and getting yourself ready for the game, because as we know, it's a big game, Villa versus Leicester, and that won't change on Sunday.
I think the difference with Leicester's mentality these days, Jerry, isn't it? Far from being in danger of getting caught up and being blasé about it or being overconfident about it, going into the game. I feel like they'll go there, and rather than just think, it's going to be a tough game, Villa at Villa Park, like you said, they're hitting a little bit of a semblance of form, rather than going there thinking, right, okay, if we can be solid and see how we get on, sort of thing, they'll go there and think, okay, we'll deal with that first and foremost, then we'll take the game to them. They've got that extra confidence about them now. They're not going there to hope to grind out a result, which they will have to do, but they know they've got that extra quality to actually go and turn things on the head a little bit and take the game to Aston Villa. And Aston Villa are aware of that as well. Such a force that Leicester are at the moment.
They can obviously use the momentum, Jerry, of the 7 wins in a row, but in particular just this week, those 2 victories, one dramatic and one fairly attritional, you'd say, against Watford, but 2 fantastic sets of 3 points.
Yeah, and these are the games that, they're so easy. These are the games that in this age you're expecting Leicester to win, but that's not always the case. Because it's very easy to slip up if your mental approach isn't right, because you are going into these games as the favourite. Again, Brendan touched on it. It's about coming in every day, starting afresh, making sure that no one's taking it for granted, that the form they're on, they're not all thinking that they're already in the Champions League next year. And that mindset does not change for this game. In fact, the focus has to be even more because of the magnitude of the game. And you have to. Yes, it's not an eye-catching game for a lot of people, but for the Villa fans and for the Leicester fans, this is a big one. I know a lot of people would have been looking forward to these 2 games against Villa.
Yeah, I don't think the players won't lose focus because the prize is so big, isn't it? The incentive is there, to keep on that run as best they can, to keep performing at the level they are. But the Champions League is in the offing there, but also maybe even better. You never know, without getting carried away. But it'll excite the players, and they'll just approach it in the right way and keep playing with that confidence they got.
Yeah, you can of course listen to that game at Villa Park on Sunday on LCFC Radio. Our coverage starts from 11 a.m. With the pre-match pint followed by Matchday Live, of course. Then we've got extra time on Monday evening, and straight after that the under-23s are in action. They host Everton at Holmes Park. That's just about it though for Matchday -2. So guys, we'll get your final predictions from you two, please. I guess firstly the great news of Brendan Rodgers, Jerry, that he more than anyone will want to go there and win off the back of this
absolutely.
news.
And I'm in agreement, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Leicester. A hard-fought another attritional game.
Similar. I don't like to agree with Jerry all the time, but I'm going for that, a gritty 2-1 away victory.
Well, hopefully you're both right again, which you have been in recent weeks. Well, we've already exclusively revealed one piece of news here on Matchday -2, so we can do another one now right at the end. This is the goal of the month for November on LCFC. You all voted, of course, on the website, and James Maddison's strike against Arsenal came out on top.
Edge of the area, Maddison alongside him, so too Jamie Vardy. On to Maddison, a driven shot,